Hey friends, it's Ruben with Hi-Fi MIDI. This is Ample China Dongxiao, or ACDX, the second bamboo woodwind sample library in Ample Sound's line of Chinese instruments. It's based on the Deep Blue Sea series of Dongxiaos. It works on Windows and Mac, all major DAWs in VST, AU, and AAX format, and as a standalone app or plugin within your DAW. It takes up about 5 gigabytes of space in your storage and requires an iLock account to activate. Just like ACDX, this woodwind comes with many expressive articulations divided into 3 groups: the head group, the body group, and the effects group. Each group is color-coded in blue, yellow, or red, respectively. The head group articulations are playing techniques that can be made at the head of the instrument, with each subsequent articulation increasing the number of grace notes played. These grace notes are played according to the pentatonic scale in the assigned key. Let's go through them. C0 trigger sustain, which has 4 sample levels, 127 being an impulse, which is a very hard blow into the instrument. That's absolutely gorgeous. The next one is D0, which is a grace up. And grace down, D sharp 0. Pentatonic up. This one is also velocity sensitive. As you notice, if I hit the higher velocities, it's going to trigger that impulse. Ripple. Long trembling. Here is the impulse by itself. So there are 2 impulses. There's a grace impulse and there's a regular impulse. Impulse is on the lower velocities, and then on the higher velocities it's grace impulse. I love how you can hear the breath sound. That wasn't me, that was the plugin, which you can control, and I'll show you that later. But I think that's really cool. Here's a scattering up. The body group articulations can also be made at the head of the instrument, but are different in that you can interrupt an active note with a new body group articulation and keep the sound going forever, as long as you play a new body group note. Ample Sound calls this endless articulation legato. I'm going to start off with the sustain articulation from the head group, and then I'm going to interrupt that with B0, which is an impulse legato. Then I will continue that impulse over and over. I can go to the next one. Expression. This changes it to a woof tone. So on this one, lower articulations change it to expression, which changes the pitch and the dynamic. But then on the higher articulations on C1, it changes it to what they call a woof tone. Almost has a howling effect. I think that's pretty neat. Here's vibrato. And then variable vibrato on the lower velocities. Variable trill. And then trill on the higher velocities. By the way, trills are either a major second or a minor third, And that's all going to depend on where on the pentatonic scale it lands. And that is going to depend on which key you're in. So in the key of G, a pentatonic scale is G, A, B, D, and E. So if I play a trill on G, it's going to trill from G to A. If I trill on B, it's going to trill from a B to a D, which is a minor third. The good thing about that is that it sounds very natural. I do wish they had minor second trills and major thirds. That would be great, but that would take up a lot of room. Here's a vibrato flutter. So that's fluttering the tongue as well as giving it vibrato. E1 triggers marking, which is a very quick grace note. Then F1 is called layering, which is an upward grace note. F sharp 1 slides up from the note that you're playing on. And then G1 slides down. So this is very smooth and natural sounding. And then G sharp 1 triggers sforzando, which means that you give a very hard initial attack, then you back away, and then you crescendo or you increase your volume gradually. But that's followed by those short little breaths, those short little impulses. Here we have a repeated wolf tone, which gives a wolf tone as well as those repeated impulses. And then slide out downwards, fades out of a note, and then slides down. The transition is so seamless. I absolutely love this. And then impulse release. There are two special effects key switches. The first is a lick key switch on C2. This enables 36 pre-recorded phrases to be played on F2 through E5, which are the gray keys. I'm going to play a few of them for you. What a beautiful performance. Bravo. That was awesome. And finally, we have mirroring on D2, which I showed in the last review of ACDX. And what mirror does is it takes the previous articulation played and plays a reverse sample of that, but in such a way where it doesn't sound like it's reversed. It just sounds like it's playing an inversion of the notes. It's pretty cool. I'm going to show you how it works. This is a lot easier to hear on articulations with multiple notes. So that was a mirror image, and this basically doubles the amount of samples you have in a sense because it's providing you the inversion of that. That's just another tool that you can use at your disposal for creative purposes. Next, we're going to look at the effects, which are on the green keys. So breath sound, that's on F5. And here are the tube hits. And the next one, this is called shocking. Shocking 1. Shocking 2 on C sharp. Shocking 3. And this one, it says vibrato effect 1, 2, 3. However, I think of these more as a trill because vibrato has to do with the pitch variation, like slight variations in pitch, whereas trill is literally playing different notes, alternating between different notes. So here they are. Here's the next one. And the last one. There might even be a tremolo. And then we have ghosts, which is really spooky, but very cool. It's great. All right, let's go over the mics. So there are 3 different mic settings. Mono, which is going to give you an even signal left and right. Midside 1, which is a very popular miking technique, and midside 2, they just give you a stereo image by using a certain placement in the mics. And then you can set the keys. This affects the articulations that have multiple notes which are playing in the pentatonic scale. So in the key of G, it would be playing G, A, B, D, E. However, in the key of A, it would be playing A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp. Same applies to all the other keys. This mixer here, let's control the effects. These are these green keys right here. The release sound is the sound of how quickly the note decays when you stop blowing. So there's an abrupt cutoff when it's set to 0. The breath sound is the sound of the person breathing. So I'm going to raise it up all the way. The wind sound controls the noise of the air hitting the instrument as it's playing. This sound was taken out of the original samples, and now you can control it by itself. So if you want a purer sound, set this to 0 and you're going to get more note than air. But if you raise it all the way, you're really going to hear how airy, how dirty the sound is. I can almost hear some overtones in here. It's about a major second up. Over here we have different playing modes. Instrument mode, which is monophonic and legato. And then there's keyboard mode, which lets you play multiple notes at the same time like you're playing a keyboard. That actually sounds pretty nice. I would just take off the breath sound. The random articulation button selects a random articulation each time you play a new note to give variation in your playing. This can be used for live performance. This is pretty cool, but I prefer choosing the articulations myself. Then we have legato mode, and this is going to take some explaining because it's kind of complex, but it's easy to understand once you take some time to learn how it's set up. So by default, it's in legato mode. You can change it to slide legato. In legato mode, it says the mode triggers straight legato when the note duration is shorter than legato time, which can be adjusted in the settings. So if we go to settings, we can see legato time by clicking on this MIDI icon. Right now it's set to 200 milliseconds. So I'm going to set it to 500 milliseconds, which is half a second. This is going to make it easier to understand. And in my MIDI editor, I've created a little musical phrase set to 16 beats per minute. That means each of these notes is about a second long. Remember, my legato time is half a second, so these are already longer than half a second. So it says if the note is longer than legato time, which it is, velocities 1 through 15 will trigger soft legato 2. So let's play that. That's soft legato 2. 16 to 31 is soft legato 1. There is a difference between the legato, between the note transitions. So it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, but as we go higher up in velocity, you're going to hear it more. 32 to 96 triggers straight legato, which is going to have a faster transition to the note. '96 to 125 triggers grace legato. So as you can hear, there was a grace note in there. And then velocity 126 to 127 triggers a layering legato for ascending notes and a ripple legato for descending notes. Let's listen to that. And then there's slide mode, which triggers a slide legato 1 and 2 depending on your velocity. Slide legato is triggered when you're playing a major second or a minor third. So velocity 1 to 15 is going to trigger a slide legato 2. And 16 to 31 triggers slide legato 1. Speaking of legato time can be adjusted in the settings so you can control how fast those note transitions are and how smooth they are. A couple of new cool things. This program uses a new vibrato system. It's been on the few previous sample libraries, but rather than doing vibrato by note division, it does it by modulation time, which I think is way better. So the shorter the modulation time, the faster the vibrato. The higher it is, the slower the vibrato. So you can actually control this using a fader or a knob by right-clicking, choosing your CC number, and then I have it set to 14, and then clicking this check mark. So now I can control that number with my MIDI keyboard. So if I want a fast vibrato, I can lower that number. Slow vibrato is a higher number. I'm so happy they have this feature. The next thing, I think this is something I asked AmpleSound to include, which was the disable tooltip. I don't know about you, but once I've learned a plugin, I hate going over a button and seeing this menu pop up. Now I can hover over and it doesn't show any information, which I think is great. But if I need it, I can go back in and enable it. Then we have 3 keyboard skins. There's control keys, which I love. Keyboard keys, which are a little hard for me to see. And then the dark keys. This is a really cool look. And then we have sample loop. So this, in its default mode, the samples end when the person runs out of breath. But if you click on sample loop, it's going to seamlessly loop that sample at this very natural looping point where you're not going to be able to tell where it ends or where it starts. So you can basically go on forever. One more thing is that you can use a hold pedal to play very fast trills. It makes it a lot easier. If you do it without the sustain pedal, first off, it will cut off the note. Otherwise, you're going to have to use both fingers very quickly to do this trill. But if you use the hold pedal, you just have to hold down one key and then continue to press the second key. I think that's a great feature. This plugin comes with different presets. So distance sound. I think it has a very beautiful reverb. So you can get lots of effects because of the envelope, the effects, the highly expressive nature of this plugin. Honestly, I like this one more than Qt, especially because it's really low. It's not shrill. It's very mysterious. There are so many articulations and they sound very natural. This is such a beautiful, wonderful, expressive, musical sample library. And I can tell that AmpleSound, being from China, they're pouring their heart and soul into this. They're bringing this beauty to the world. I was not even aware of this instrument. I've heard it before, but I didn't know what it was called. And to have it at my fingertips, that's just amazing. Well, friends, I hope you like this review. Please let me know what you thought about this. Subscribe and hit that notification bell if you haven't. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think of this, and I'll see you next time.